So, Michael, I was saying to you that that when you decide to start a business, and then I will talk from personal experience. When we decided, when your corporate career comes to an end and you start a business, one of the things that you do is you create a job for yourself. We really did. For the first 3 or 4 years, we created a job for ourselves because we had a business that brought in enough money to make us live comfortably. It's only when we got really serious, I think 3rd or 4th year, and we said, are we really businessmen or are we playing at being in business, for being in business at that point of time? Mm-hmm. And that's a mindset change, because there's a very different mindset change, and the data is starting to come out that when you found a business, you actually need a CEO. Founders are never good CEOs. And the only guy that's made a really, really good transition is Jeff Bezos, because he was the founder of Amazon and he's now the CEO. And a CEO is trained to look after your business. He understands all the little cogs in the machine that does it. As a founder, you've got that visionary goal that you want to achieve.
And would you say you're too heavily involved?
Yeah, you take things personally.
A CEO needs to know all the wee cogs. He needs to know, or she needs to know everything in it.
Do you ever see the CEO of Amazon get in a truck and drive it? No. Or the CEO of large companies get in the van when the drivers don't come out. So they have a little board that calls urgent and important. So they've got contingencies for that. They go, okay, they look at, CEOs are good at managing the risk. What could go wrong? Oh, we have a strike. Right. If we have a strike, what do we do? But in business, when you started, you don't think like that. You don't think, you jump and you do all those things. And over time, it becomes natural. So how do you get yourself out of it?
Yeah. Because that is all working in the business.
Yeah.
And the CEO doesn't work in the business. He works on it constantly.
And it's in the beginning, it sounds like such a great buzzword, but you're right, Michael. But how do you need to step out of it. You need to be able to look at your business long-term strategically. I read an interesting article the other day. How long do you think it took the Chinese to build the Great Wall of China?
Oh, that was not like a century.
Century, 100 years.
Yeah.
You need to go Google the answer. But the answer that if you look at history, it's more than 2,000 years, but less than 5,000. So because they didn't build it one shot. It wasn't like they started, they did it. Now, I'll tell you the reason why I tell you this.
Any overtime, eh?
Yeah, I've been on it as well.
So, long term. Very few people look 10, 15, 20 years into the future. The Chinese, about 20 years ago, started to colonize the east coast of Africa. And I call it colonization for a reason. They went to the governments of poor countries and said, we'll take the ports and we'll redevelop the ports. We'll invest in infrastructure, schools, hospitals, and roads. But you have to give us people. Our people can come and give us mineral rights. You look at places like Zimbabwe, look at places like Mozambique, deep water ports. The Chinese Navy is the biggest hunter of pirates in the world, all along the east coast of Africa. Why do you think they've spent 18 years investing in that? And they're doing the same now on the west coast of Africa, and they're moving towards South America. Why do you think the Chinese are doing that?
Well, because they're getting the infrastructure, they're getting the import rights, the costs.
Right. So they're starting to think long-term, what could happen in this global economy? So when you start your business, you live hand to mouth. And when I say hand to mouth is you go, you invoice the client, you pay your supplier, you keep a little bit of money for yourself. But you never think, we operate from a mindset of scarcity. We work really, really hard. It's like a hamster in that wheel. I always tell you guys, it's like eating soup with a fork. Mm-hmm. You stay very, very busy, but you stay very, very hungry as well. So those are important things about working on your business. And by no means is a plan the holy grail that your business is going to be successful. But if you're not working towards something, what are you working towards? Where do you want to be in 3, 4, 5 years? And do you ever sit back and reflect and go, you know what, we need to do this? How often do you review your pricing structure? Things like that.
Yeah, I think like there's a stage as well where you're in this mix of you're doing everything, even though you've got staff in, you're still very involved, but there's a point where you really need to start educating, or like you're saying, bringing somebody in that can look over the business, and like you can then really look at the figures, understanding the figures. You get your year-end accounts, what does it actually all mean? But it'll tell you a lot of stories about how your business is doing and where you need to go and what you actually need to do to start making some serious money. Otherwise, there's probably a lot of businesses that they shouldn't bother because they're not really making any money. They're just keeping things going.
Yeah.
And all the hassle and stress that goes with that. Why would you keep it going? Yes, you're getting a wage out of it, but I think there's always that room to grow, understand, and see the direction that you need to go in to make money.
I went out on what we call it, Lisa and I went to see a guy called Mark Miller, who's another coach. Went to see his idea of business, how he'd articulate it. And he put a graph up, and you may have already seen this, but it was actually really good. So he says, you've got brick walls in front of you all the time. When you first start your business, say 3 to 5 years, you'll hit a brick wall and a lot of people give up. You know, whatever it may be financially, or you've ran out of clients, you've no thought outside the box. But when you get past that, there's a period in between it when it's like, I was smiling at this. It could be 3 or 5 years all the way up to, say, 15 years, and you'll hit another brick wall. But in between that, you're climbing. You put a wee box in the middle of it. And he says, does anybody know what the significance of that little box is? I said, no. He says, that's when you decide to go and buy a fancy car because you've made a bit of money. Oh. You go and get a fancy car. You go and you maybe got some nice gear. You go on a wee really luxury holiday. The problem is you go on that luxury holiday, you want to go again. You want to go again, the fancy car, keep going. But then you keep going, but then you'll eventually hit that other brick wall. And a lot of people give up. But you have to get through that brick wall or you're going nowhere. And that might become, your expenses are a lot higher because you've got expensive taste. You've got a lot more staff. You've got a lot more like office space, furniture, that sort of thing. So then you're having to try and find out, do I need to drop people? Do I need to hire more people? Do I need to get more sales? Do I need to get better jobs? And it's all of that you run around. And a lot of people do give up. They don't get through it. But once you get through it, you then plateau. And he says, that's just even worse. Or you just die. Or you excel. And when you get past that point, you will have another brick wall. But everything categorically through these sections is all about the money, but it doesn't lose sight of your drive and the processes and procedures in your business. So get really good at understanding that. As much as that annoys me, I've realised it myself. You need to have processes in place.
Everything is driven. So you're absolutely right. Your business goes, they call it a bell curve, but your business goes
like
through
the bell curve as well, yeah.
So it goes through different stages where it start up and then you start going to growth and scale and then you're right, you start plateauing or decline. And you know why that happens? Is because as a business owner, you can only really take your business so far unless you educate yourself, unless you really educate yourself. Because I started in saying to you that the difference between a founder and a CEO is vastly. CEOs are exposed to all of those things. So CEO would look at that business and say, okay, we need to cut costs. We need to do this. We need to bring in more sales. We need to do our marketing effort. What are our contingencies? Because what he does is, if any CEO that comes into a business, the first thing you should do for the first 90 days is just learn, just listen. Make a list of all the things that could go wrong in this business. So I'll say to you, the first thing you should be saying is, what if we lose all our sales? What's our contingency then? Because that affects cash flow, that affects people, that affects operations. Right. What if I lose half my good people? What do I do then? Okay. It's about understanding what is the impact on the business. And you're right, a lot of people give up because they've created a scenario where I'm comfortable. But what does comfortable mean?
See, what's really interesting when you know your business and you know your numbers. So I'm not going to say the business here, but I went to see a person that has a candle shop. Stunning the place. Brilliant. But there's a lot of things around it that caused the drop in sales. Now, the margin that she makes is huge.
I can imagine.
Make no mistake, it's huge. But office shop space is 14 to 1,500 quid a month. So that's a lot of candles and a lot of things to sell beforehand. And that all stopped just because of a local shop in the area. The post office stopped people coming in for Amazon deliveries, pickups, checks getting, the older people. And that's where the decline in sales came. But then she realised that she has to adapt, diversify. She's got a lot online, but now she's going to another office space. She can make it there, make all the candles there, do all her thing there. Reduce rate quarter she's paying now, and she will be, but she's tithing at least, but she's going to work that one out, and she'll make a hell of a lot more money than she ever did there, because she's now tried it. Because sometimes you try it from your house first and then get a premises. She's doing it all different ways, but there's no right or wrong way. But absolutely, the fact that she could see that, she understood her numbers, and she's only been in business for maybe 2-3 years, but she was able to execute on it. It was actually really, really good. And I thought to myself, Christ, the branding's great, marketing's great, but you could even do a lot more. I says, that's a great business model from candles. It's not, You know, you could sell pens, for
So
instance.
it doesn't matter what the business is.
And it comes down to the sales idea, how you sell anything. Because I went in there and I spent 60 quid.
On candles.
One.
I smell
candle.
great.
Your house must be fantastic.
It's like a chapel. but it's using that.
but-
When you think it's a lower form, the business lower money, you can make a hell of a profit. It's great, you know, if you make a lot of money, but if you can make a lot of money, but it costs you a lot of money to make that money as well. Try and keep it as basic as possible.
It's
Basics.
I don't think it's just the money. It's also your time and your effort, because very often you bury your head in the sand. And it goes back to understanding your numbers. A lot of people aren't educated. So they run up to the VAT threshold, and then the accountant goes, you need to register for VAT. Immediately, they're 20% more expensive than anybody else. What do they do then? A lot of guys don't even push up their prices.
Yeah.
They sacrifice their margin. So they start going backwards. And then they get into trouble. And they go like, oh, so we spoke about it earlier, a good cash flow plan. You need to know where you're going to be in 12 months and 24 months. That's all you need to look at. And every month, you just need to see how good you are with your forecasting. Are you on top of it? Are you out £1,000? Why are you out £1,000? Have you not? Is there too many once-off expenses you didn't account for? Why? What happened? Those type of things.
Sorry, Mike.
I was going to say, there's another thing with increasing others' prices, stuff that you're buying or using, like it sneaks up on you. People just put the prices up, so you're now paying more for everything that you're doing, but you've not put your prices up to cover it. So all of a sudden, you know, you're going on the wrong way. And VAT's worth, like my experience of going VAT registered is there's a big bit of fear on that you're going to lose all these customers because you're now going to be VAT registered. But the reality is it's not the case. In fact, we've had more emails come in congratulating us because people understand where you are on your journey.
Yeah.
You know, it's that you've got to a stage where you've had to go VAT registered. So it's not something to be scared of. It's just
how
lot more
I
work.
Shows
suppose.
that you're progressing.
Yeah.
Can I say to you that the thing that I find is transparency and communication. I think communication is key. If you can talk to your
Always.
clients all the time with relevant, purposeful information. I often get, people go, newsletters. Newsletters are great for brand awareness, but what are you actually conveying to your clients in your newsletter? When you're talking to your client, what are you actually talking to him about? Is it stuff that matters to him? Because people are busy. You get 500 emails a day. Yours is at the bottom of the pile if it doesn't appeal to me straight away.
It's got to appeal to people, but what you're having to try and sell, this is back to the sales, you have to instill the value. There's no point trying to sell a pen to somebody when they've always used a pencil. There's no point. You have to create the value for them.
Absolutely.
Trainers, jackets, candles, hats, joinery, construction, coaching. You've got to understand the value. You know that one when they said by the car salesman was the guy went into all these places and the salesman was basically saying, this is the starting price of this car. He was not selling the car. But then when somebody said, just imagine how it would feel when the roof tops down and you're going through that town centre, hair all swept back, you're going to look great in this car. It was giving them the feeling, the value, because it's like when you get a brand new motorbike, a brand new car, why do people go round the town centre or they get a hire car like a fancy Merc? They go around the town because they're trying to show off. Everybody does it. They think, I don't do that. You fucking do. Right? Everybody does it because they want that great feeling, that impact, the bravado, whatever it may be. So just don't hide from that.
No.
It's good. It's good to get a nice feeling.
There's nothing wrong with celebrating your success. Absolutely nothing wrong with celebrating your success. But I can't agree with you more. It's about value. And there's this sales trainer, and he's training a person on how to sell. And she goes, I do makeup, and it's £800. But people come to me and they go, my budget is £450. So he goes, okay, I'm going to be the customer. So he goes, how much does it cost? She goes, 800. He goes, I've only got 450. She goes, I can't do it. He goes, I walk away. So he goes, okay, that's unfair. You put it on me. So she comes to him and she goes, I want to do makeup. And he goes, tell me a little bit more. Why do you need makeup? And she goes, oh, my sister's getting married. And he goes, whoa, lush affair. How many sisters do you have? She goes, 3. So he gets to, it's the middle one. He goes, lots of people are coming. And then he says to her, is there going to be any boys there or your ex? He goes, yeah. So he goes, you want to look your absolute best, don't you? You want to be a stunner. What's that worth to you? Mm-hmm. She goes, oh, no, I do. He goes, well, to look your absolute best is going to be £800. How does that sound? She goes, oh, that sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's about the value, never ever about the price. If you're selling on price, you're doing something wrong, and that's just price is a race to the bottom.
It shows that interest. I remember, my wife had said it. Being interested is interesting. When you show that interest in people, that's where the magic can happen, because people want to feel good. So any customers or clients that you've potentially got, you have to have that. I'm just going to say how I say it, that fuck you mentality. You've got to imagine that your competitors are behind you. What are you going to do differently? Now, you have to even go in that mindset, like, I need to get this money, take my kids to the football or the ballet, or take my wife out for a nice meal, or anniversary's coming. You got to go really deep to get that fuck you. I'm here to beat people. I'm here to be different. And you can listen to things like podcasts that are out there. You can listen to sales objection handling, all of it. But yeah, as you said earlier, you have to get that education to become better.
And it's not everything. Don't take everything as the gospel. Take little bits and pieces and apply it to your business. And don't try and apply everything. Take one small thing and apply that to your business. Because I wanted to just say to you, do you know why people buy on price? Price becomes a default decision-making criteria if you're unable to tell people the value you create for them as well as your differentiator, because then they don't have anything to compare against. So their default, if they don't understand, is price. That's what they do.
Correct. The other thing I think is worth mentioning is something that we didn't do early enough was get a mentor or mentors. And like, that's worth its absolute weight in gold. If you've got somebody that's been in business a long time, been through all of these curves, and you can sit with them and have a coffee and a chat about where you are in your journey, and you can be honest. Business owners, like, if somebody comes to me, I'm more than happy to help. I've spoke to loads of other business, including you guys, business owners, and you just need a little nugget to get you through a stage that you're in. So the quicker you can get onto that sort of thing, the better in your journey.
You need three things. Michael's right. Mentor is the middle one, and there's differences. So you need a advisor. I'm not going to call them coaches, because there's lots of coaches out there, and coaching is probably about like 1% of what I do. But you need an advisor, a guy that sits on the outside that you can talk to, that's got no emotional attachment to your business, that you can just offload and you can brainstorm together.
And be accountable as well.
Yeah, and that brings a certain amount of accountability to you. So you need somebody like that, because he's got no emotional attachment to your business. Whether you succeed or fail, he doesn't care, as long as he gets paid. But his job is to help you think outside the box, to educate you, to teach you. Then you need a mentor. And a mentor is somebody that's done it already, been through the mill. And all you want to do is you want to give him the parameters of where you are and say to him, this is what I'm thinking. In your experience, what do you see going wrong? And then the third thing you need is you need a sponsor. Now, normally when I say a sponsor, we all think Alcoholics Anonymous.
I did think that right away,
So a sponsor...
You in my brain.
So a sponsor is somebody that represents you when you're not in the room, that's got deferred, or he's got credibility. So that when he says, you know what, Johnny and Michael are great guys, you need to deal with them, people don't even question it. How many of us have sponsors? How many of us have mentors? How many of us have advisors? Because it comes down to that old saying is, when you look at your cash flow, you go, I might not, but I can't afford it. Sometimes it's worth investing, because that's what you're doing. You're investing in the future of your business.
I think it's whatever business you have, if you're investing in items, clothing or candles or tools, if you're in construction, you don't think about it, you just think, oh, I need to get that. Well, that's another way you need to think about. It's a great point you made there. A mentor, a sponsor, you have to, and it sounds so American, because we say it every episode, I'm sure, but you have to be around the right people. You really do. Your mum and dad, as much as you love them, your brother, your sister, some of your friends, if they're not in business, don't share your information with them. Share it with somebody that's in business that you think is doing okay or has been in it. Because if they've been in it for 5 to 10, 15 years, I can assure you they've probably went through all the trials and tribulations of business.
It's so true, because what happens is you might be in business and people look from the outside, they look in and they go, that guy must be doing really, really well. They do. People do that. They go, he's got a nice car, he's got offices. But you lift that hood, and instead of a V6, you find a liter, just a liter engine, and the car's just idling, it's just moving along. That's just the reality of it, because we all live behind masks. If you tell me you don't, you're lying, because we all live behind masks. But the benefit of growing old and being honest and open, and I think that's where we struggle, is I know somebody who wanted to go and start his own business, become self-employed. And everybody in his family said, "You're crazy. You've got a job that pays everything." One person said to him, "I think it's time you do that." He's successful. But what does success mean? I mean, define success. It means different things to different people. Maybe it means you pay off your house quickly. Maybe it means you go on expensive holidays. Maybe it means that you drive the latest car. It means different things for different people.
It does. Find your contentment.
I think, we've got a lot to be thankful for, yet we're thankful for so little. And we're not content. You always want to get to the next thing. And I'm all for ambition. I'm all for taking over the world. I'm all for ambition. I said to my son, I struggle because I'm a capitalist at heart and he's more of a socialist. And I'm like, how do we reconcile this socialism versus capitalism? Money in itself isn't evil. Money in itself isn't bad. It's what you do with that money. That sets you apart.
It's just a vehicle.
It's just a tool, yeah. So you need to look at, but in business, if you're in business to make money. Don't kid yourself, okay? Because if you're not in business to make money, you've just created a job for yourself. Then why did you do it? Because you should have just rather stayed with a company that paid you a wage. Because to create a job for yourself, you have the worries about cash flow, people, growing, scaling your business.
I'm going to throw something really controversial in here, right? But it's more psychological. This might go completely fucking wrong here,
Thought it was just
but it's the
silence.
truth. It's the truth. Would you deal in business with somebody and rely on somebody if they were extremely overweight, fat? Oh, I said the word fat. Because in my head, it tells me that they're lazy, they don't look after themselves, they've not got discipline, they've not got that inner drive. If I've said that already, there's something in that for me and my wee makeup in my head, and I don't think I'm wrong on that. When I look at somebody who's excessively overweight, not looking after themselves, I'm like, what the fuck got them to there? If you're in business, what point did you go, I'm going to kill myself, my visceral fat, I'm not healthy, I can hardly sleep, I'm snoring at night, I'm a bit sluggish in the morning, I'm not firing all four cylinders, opposed to somebody, it looks like they're looking after themselves. I just want to explore that because I've never heard anybody talking about it. And I did see it on a video online. I thought, that's exactly how I feel.
Well, I would pass that straight on to Vickers. What do you think?
Will be the one to settle
But
controversy?
seriously, we make a judgment on people within 4 to 7 seconds and we go, fat, lazy, sloppy, not get the job done right. And they might, but are they missing a trick?
Are they missing a trick? Or I don't know the answer to that one, Johnny.
Well, what would you say? Can it be, because you might have clients that are
I'm trying to
overweight.
think about. I'm trying to think. I've in
Honesty and transparency.
honesty and transparency. So I try to listen. I try to give them the benefit of the doubt because we make an opinion about somebody within the first 4 or 7 seconds, and that could be completely wrong. I would sit with them and I would try and understand.
Trying to understand that they've not got they've
But if I
got an illness.
yeah,
or
so
something.
if I understand that within the 4, and it'll no more than 7 minutes. Within 7 minutes, if you ask the right questions, you'll understand. If it's somebody that makes excuses, he's out because that's what we do. We make excuses. Okay, so I mean, I thought Johnny was talking about me because I was slightly overweight. Well,
You're a wee fat boko.
yeah, I'm kidding. I was like, I was going to wonder, is this a personal thing? But you make a choice. Okay, so you make sacrifices. So in the winter, I get up early in the morning. I get up at 5 and it's cold. And I put on my gloves and I go run. Sacrifices.
Do you not put other clothes on? Like, I just put my gloves on and just go for that.
I just go. The neighbors love it. The police, not so much. No, but it's about making sacrifices, and business requires sacrifices. So does your personal life. You need to make sacrifices and choices. So choices. I mean, chocolate's still my one vice. I'm still struggling to cut that thing out. But you change your lifestyle. You make the choice. You'd be surprised to see how easy it is once you start making that choice. But you know what happens is we live in an age of instant gratification. So I go on a run today and I don't lose 10 kilos. Oh my goodness, it's not going to work and I give up.
Eat more chocolate.
That's all right.
I want to get your opinion on this.
Well,
without
mine
sitting on the
is
fence.
like I've met lots of skinny people that are a shower of shit. So I would say I'm in the same camp as you might have that initial thought there.
Yep.
But what's the
So this
actual
is what I'm
reality?
getting at.
Yeah.
Because there might be some medical reasons, underactive thyroid type stuff,
Yeah,
whatever's
there's
going on
always
that's
underlying
causing
things,
problems. But I mean, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but
But you're
it's
not
not-
really, you're not really impacting this conversation here.
So you want-
I don't want to be.
it's
I'm
your
not.
view.
I know, but I'm not. I know
So
I
I
come
don't
across
think- so-
aggressive.
No, so
but I'm just like
when
we're
I
being
meet them for
open
the
and
first time,
transparent.
when I meet them for the first time, I don't think they're fat and they're lazy. When I meet them for the first time, I need to.
Bullshit.
No, I promise you, I don't think they're fat or they're lazy. Within 7 minutes, I'll know if they're fat or they're lazy.
You look at me when I had my longer hair and go, if it was greasy, did he not wash? If you smelt something off someone, if it was BO, you would make a judgment on them. You would make a judgment. I think you're pretty shite.
You're going back a few years now, eh?
I still got hair, I just shaved it.
But what do you do? What do you do when you make a judgment?
I think over a period of time, like I'm trying to explain it for the people that are making judgments already. I
Yeah.
make judgments, but I've got the patience to see past it because I'm fact finding information. But I am saying you spend time judging as potential clients. You judge them. Everybody judges.
That is one. You know what? With the same measure that you judge people, you will be judged, and that to me, that to me is why I try to not judge a book by its cover, because I don't want to be judged just because the way you dress, the way you talk. I don't want that. So I would give them the benefit of the doubt. But you're right. We do make judgment calls. We look at somebody looks at you the wrong way. You go, he's rude. You might just be having a really shitty day that day.
Yep. Aye.
You might just be having, but you're right. I think we do. We all, whether we admit it or not, we make judgment calls. It's having the maturity to say, okay, I've judged this person. Am I going to give them the benefit of the doubt? So you walk into that person with body odor. Okay. And I've recently had to deal with one of these. What do you say? So you learn about it, and then you discover they've got a medical condition. And then they come out and they go, if I smell, please tell me. And you go,
Yeah.
wow. I hate
We've
to
had
be-
that. We've had that as well. Because you do. Everybody judges, as I'm sounding like a broken record here. But it's fact finding the information. You can think it. But when you're in business, they will be judging you. So get all get all the simple things right. Your presentation is your exterior, how you talk, your visual impact, your vocal impact. Make sure they're all right, because you want to go in there with that fuck you mentality that somebody else is going to try and beat you. So you have to get the basics right. So looking a bit fit and healthier, get yourself fit, because people will judge you. And remember, you're selling yourself, you're selling your idea, your concept, your business, whatever it is you're doing. You need to get the structure right at the very beginning. And that is the exterior of yourself, the vocal impact, the visual impact. And as much as people might disagree, I'm fucking right what I'm saying.
The other side to that as well is there's no point in doing all of this to die young as such.
Oh, exactly.
You need to make sure
You
that
are-
you keep yourself fit and healthy
Yeah.
and have time to enjoy it at the back end when
Do you want to be the richest man in the graveyard? So I mean, that is why if you're in business to make money, you need to enjoy it. Okay, the aim is not to. Well, it depends. If your aim is to be a billionaire, what use? John D. Rockefeller, richest man in the world. At one stage, he owned 98% of the world's oil was owned by him, and then the Americans passed legislation, and he had to cut it off, and that's why he created the John D. Rockefeller Foundation. Okay, but to have all that money and you don't have your health, what the hell's the point?
No, that's
And that's, I think in business, it's so quick. I mean, one of the things that when I started, startup second time around is a lot harder the older you get. I'll tell you that much. At our home office. And you know what happened? Days rolled into weeks, because you get out and you start doing things, and before you know it, you've wasted a whole day. Don't see your family now. Got an office now. You work from your office. You still work from home, but it's not as frequent. It's about habits. It's about putting boundaries in place.
that's a good point.
there's also like I've spoken about this before, but it's the balance of, well, not a balance, but you need to strategically align your personal goals with your business goals.
Yeah, I do. And I think, Michael, you've done that fairly. I mean, if I say you've done it well,
Thanks.
because he plays golf more than anybody else that I know, and he's got a
Snowboard.
fantastic
He's still
handicap.
shite.
Snowboarding holidays.
I'm not joking, darling.
I keep fit for it.
It doesn't
So at
keep
least
you
Johnny
fit.
won't judge you, but it is. I'm feeling judged today. No, but
Listen, you're the skinniest one here.
Thanks.
I'm the one where we pot belly.
See, I'm judging you because we's not the right word.
but it is interesting when you've got that personal versus your business. Where do you spend your time, and what is your objective? And that's where your vision comes in. Is it to have £1 million in the bank? Just FYI, $1 million isn't enough.
See,
need
when you
5
first
or 10.
start, though, these words become, I'm going to use what Kevin said for Ikigai, wanky words, vision, culture, all these things. But when you start thinking about them more and going into the meaning behind them, most successful businesses have that ethos, that strategy. But it's when you get to explain what's behind that word and what hopefully we're doing in the Business Bible, the vision, that's what's so important about it. You need to know where you're going to, where your target is, and bring along the family on that vision. Let them throw that put that on the table as well, so everybody gets excited by it, and they know if you're working a wee bit later because dad's trying to or mum's trying to get that vision for us because we want to go to Disneyland or blah 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 blah. Include them in it. It's a good idea.
And with that, this is your world. Shape it, or someone else will.
Boom.